Hey everybody, Small Business Stacey here. Welcome to another episode of the Small Biz Marketing Success Show. Now, what if you had a secret weapon that busts through all the clutter and ensures that your prospects and your customers never leave? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Hi, I'm Small Business Stacey.
I'm Digital Dave.
Where marketing
meets technology.
I am so honored to have Travis Lee of 3D Mail Results with us today. Welcome to the show, Travis.
Hey, Stacey. Thanks for having me. Great to be with you and your listeners today.
You got it. Now, we're talking about this thing called direct mail. And direct mail, I know it as the secret weapon that can really get you in front of those eyeballs that seem to be so hard to do today. Tell me a little bit about you and your background, because I just can't imagine that you grew up loving envelopes and direct mail. There's got to be a sexier story to this. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this.
Yeah, I'll give you kind of the quick version, right? So it all started with a guy that you and I both know very well, Dan Kennedy, right? And so my father owned a business at the time. He since sold it about 5 years ago now. But he stumbled upon this guy named Dan Kennedy, who was this big proponent. So this is like 1992, right? There's no Facebook. There's no social media. Email and internet is just barely at the cusp of commercial use, right? And he was, again, adamant, as you know, that use direct mail, use it. So my dad, Keith, who I started this business with, we'll kind of circle back to him, I'm sure, said, all right, we're going to use direct mail. We're going to find a way to use it. And we're going to use direct mail. And so I spent my junior high and high school years folding and stuffing envelopes, for 10 or 15 cents per piece for spending money. If there was a camp I wanted to go to, if there was a trip I wanted to make, that was like our very first venture into direct mail. Dan said, you got to make it work. So Keith was going to make it work. Right. And so that was my introduction to it. Boy, almost 30 years ago now, I guess. Holy cow. Right. And so so now fast forward a few years. And now, so more than a few years, more like a decade or so, to like to about 2005, 2006, I had graduated college with a marketing degree from a public university, right? You graduate high school, you go get a marketing degree. And it was funny. So my dad, he said to me at the time, hey, I know you're thinking about coming to work for the family company. That's great. I'm sure you learned a lot of great things in your marketing with your marketing degree, but he gave me a stack of Dan Kennedy books and newsletters and said, here's what really makes us money. So if you read this and you like it, then we should have a conversation if you want to come work in the family business. And so true story. So this is 2004-ish, right? About the year before I graduated. He sent me magnetic marketing on cassette tapes, 2004. So he sends me cassette tapes. So I call up my mom and say, Dad just sent me cassette tapes. I don't have a cassette player. So she sent me one of those old, the old Sony cassette players. And I'm walking to and from class, listening to Dan's magnetic marketing. I'm thinking, hey, this is kind of cool. This is kind of fun stuff. So anyway, let's fast forward now another couple of years. We had been using all kinds of fun, creative direct mail stuff to grow that other business. And then we were actually in another mastermind group with Bill Glazier, Dan's former business partner. And we said, we send all this fun stuff. We sent magic 8 balls. We've sent real dollar bills. We've sent fake dollar bills. I think we were sending these little worry dolls at the time. I'm sure we're going to talk about more of this. And he said, Bill, what do you think? Should we start a business selling this stuff? Because it's different, it's unique, and we get sick of telling people, well, go to your dollar store, right? We can buy stuff. We can, the other business was a distribution business. So we bought stuff in bulk and then broke it down and sold it into smaller units. So it made sense, right? And so this was 2006 or 7 now. And the mastermind group said, yes, when are you going to start this new direct mail business? Here's some credit cards, right? Let us buy some stuff. And so about 6 months later, we had started what we now call 3D Mail Results, which is different, unique, what we call clutter busting, direct mail. So it's not your traditional stuff in an envelope, although we do some of that, but it's mainly stuff that looks and feels and just is different than everything else your average consumer or your average business owner is going to get in the mail. That's the Reader's Digest version of it, right? So I kind of got hooked on it when I was young, and we progressed and progressed, and now here we are, 2020, a standalone business, serving thousands of customers every single year, and doing some fun, unique direct mail. And I'm sure we'll get into some of that specific stuff as we go on. But that's how we got involved with it.
Okay, great. Well, it's always great to learn the background of how people get into what they're doing today. And I really commend you for being on what I call Planet Dan.
Yeah.
I've learned so much from Dan Kennedy. And the biggest lesson that I've learned is when people zig, you zag.
Yep.
Always do the opposite. And what's interesting about what you've done is, as you kind of painted the history of going through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, right? And all these gurus were out there preaching online. Everybody's got to be online. Let's send 300,000 emails, right? And blast people. And it doesn't work. So here's the thing, that we just finished up the holiday season. And this is an absolute true story. I got one holiday card.
Wow.
I called it an unmerry holiday, an unmerry Christmas. You know how you used to go to the mailbox and be so excited to see, the family pictures, and you'd put them around your foyer or the tree or the kitchen, and everybody looked at it. And this year I got one.
Wow.
So Travis, talk about how this thing called a mailbox is an untapped opportunity for small business owners.
Well, I mean, you said it exactly right. When you zig, or when others zig, you zag, right? And, most of us probably know the horror stories about email, junk mail, open rates are lower, engagement rates are lower. Everything that we do online is becoming saturated and saturated and saturated. So while everyone's moving there, there's probably a great way for you to move over here, right? And I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the numbers are staggering when it comes to, how many people open their mail the same day that it arrives. It's, 77% open it, get it and open it and store it the same day it arrives. 60% enjoy checking their mailbox. I don't know 60% of anybody that enjoys checking their inbox, right? Right. So, and even millennials, they say, that's the new catword, right? Millennial marketing. Even they say that they trust companies more that send them something in the mail versus only engagement online or in social media, right? And so there's all these studies, all these statistics out there that say, while we may not be using mail as much, so for example, direct mail, the amount of direct mail that we send is down, but it's because of the things you just talked about, right? We're not sending personal mail anymore. You're not sending Christmas cards. If you're organizing a party, you're doing it on Facebook, right? You're creating but commercial mail, there's never been more commercial mail sent through the USPS than ever before, right? So there is still a giant opportunity there to be had with less competition, if you will, but in a way that you still have to be heard, seen, or read, right? And so I like to tell people that in any kind of marketing that you do, the number one objective is to, whether it's on TV, you got to be seen, whether it's on the radio, you've got to be heard, whether it's in the mailbox, you've got to be read. And that's the number one thing we have to get is attention with any marketing that we do, right? And so that's why we do crazy things. Just one example, we have these fake express envelopes that we send out, right? Maybe 150,000 a year of these go out our doors, right? But the whole idea is to get it open and read, because if this shows up in your mailbox, who's not going to open this, right? It has the look and appeal of priority mail or a FedEx even, but it goes out for just a regular postage stamp, right? So that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So if you can get seen, heard, or read, and especially do something different than what everyone else is doing, right? So get off of Facebook. Now, I'm not telling you not to use that stuff, right? I send out a ton of email, right? We use everything at our disposal, but that's the point. We use everything.
Multimedia,
exactly. And I see more and more, especially small businesses, get captured by the online shiny object, and they forget about direct mail. And there's all kinds of ways it can work. New customers, existing customers, past customers. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But if you're not at least looking at it, and especially for your own customer base, that's where it's the easiest to start. You're missing out on a communication method that many people still like and enjoy and are receptive to.
I love it. And so many new clients will come to me and none of them are doing direct mail. Their idea, their concept of direct mail is maybe a postcard or a boring sales letter. But that's not really what we're talking about today, right? There's this term called lumpy mail. Yep. So Travis, can you what is lumpy mail, and then why and how does that work?
Well, so I'll give you a great example of what most I shouldn't say 99% of companies could use this, right? And we call it a lost client campaign. Mm-hmm. And you've seen them and you've probably experienced them. People do it via email, but for most businesses, you have a group of customers that have bought from you and then for whatever reason didn't buy from you again, right? So with some businesses, it's built in, right? Your dentist, it's every 6 months, right? Your auto mechanic, it's every 4 months or 5,000 miles, right? It used to be 3 months, 3,000 miles. They've kind of stretched it out a little bit, right, with the newer cars. But there's some of them have them built in. And so the greatest example I have, and then other businesses, right, you've got to kind of figure it out, right? Again, some of them have it built in. We've just been, I've got to go to the car mechanic, get my oil changed 2 to 3 times a year. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you're an HVAC contractor? What if you're a jeweler? What if you're a diner restaurant, mm-hmm. right? When is that person lost? So you got to kind of, do a little thinking of when that person should come back. But we send things out like these boomerangs. So that's just a regular old plastic boomerang, right? They come in all kinds of different colors. And what we do is we find a list of our inactive clients or patients. We pull that list out and then we mail them a boomerang. Why a boomerang? Because we want them back, right? So we put in the headline, Dear Stacey, we miss you. We want you back. Dear Stacey, it's Tom, Dr. Tom over here at the ABC dental office. And man, we were looking at our client base, our patient base, and we haven't seen you in 9 months. What's going on, right? So in order to keep a happy smile and a healthy smile, blah, blah, right? And then you go into your sales pitch. But the whole idea is to send something different that gets attention, that gets opened and gets read. Because if it doesn't get opened and if it doesn't get read, we can't make a sale, right? So that's the goal, right? And what I like to tell people is, the reason Super Bowl ads are so expensive is because you're guaranteed eyeballs, right? It's not because the Super Bowl is any great thing, right? It's fun. I'm a huge football fan, right? So for me, it's great. But it has nothing to do with the actual event and the fact that there are umpteen million people watching it live. So that's why it's so expensive. Well, if you can have that kind of impact without having to spend $4 or $5 million for an ad, that's what we're looking to do. I've got some other, let's say let's go maybe a B2B type of company. Let's say I sell, I'm just looking at my phone system here. Let's say I sell phone services and hardware to companies with sales staffs over 20, just making it up kind of as we go. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you sent them, this is a real vinyl bank bag, right? So It's got a zipper on it, right? And so with this guy, we actually put, and we're going to save these guys 22% every year over year on their phone systems, right? I'm sure all of us who have a sales staff can appreciate that, right? We actually put a letter right inside of there, right in the opening. And then on this other side, we put their address and their postage, and this thing shows up in their mailbox, right? So as you can imagine, when these things show up,
who's not opening that?
You're exactly right. And that's the point. We want to get them to open it. We want to get them to read it. And that's the whole goal, is to overcome the biggest challenge we have with marketing, and that's getting seen, heard, read, whatever it is.
I love the boomerang campaign, and I actually use this with so many of my clients because when they come to me, it's actually the lowest hanging fruit where we can get them the biggest wins, because they're alwaation so focused on more new. Mm-hmm. And in my book, Small Business Marketing Made Easy, I have the action, ACTION, marketing system. And the N stands for nurture. And so many businesses just drop the ball because they're focused on more new. So how easy is it to look in your database and, like Travis said, figure out how many touch points should a person have with you? A dentist at least twice a year. But what if you could bring them back 3 times, right? What would that do to your bottom line? And sending out something as simple as a boomerang lets that person who gets it, they're going to remember you because it's not like just a boring piece of mail.
Yep. So I was working, I mean, the fact that you said, what can we do to bring them back a little sooner? So I work with an optometrist, and similar to a dentist but they're on 2-year cycles, right? So most people, if you have any kind of insurance, you get a free eye exam every 2 years. Well, we don't want them to wait till month 30 or month 32. We want them to come in exactly at month 24. And if we're able to get all of our patients to come in at month 24 to 26, as opposed to month 34 to 36, we've just accelerated everybody by 6 months, right? And so that's a great point that you said. It's not only the fact of re-engaging them, getting them involved, but how can we maybe give them that little nudge to do it just that much sooner, right? So with him, we're taking his patient files for between 24 and 26 months. We're mailing them, and we're not going to let them come in month 36. We're going to make sure they come in when they're supposed to, right? And every business has that, right? I was challenged one time, and a funeral parlor, I think, was the only one that I could think of that stumped me that didn't have lost clients. Once they're down, right? So now, having said that, what have they done? Well, they now sell pre-plots. You prepay. Right?
Oh.
So now they all have appointment no sales, appointment no shows, people who bought and then went and did other things and did, right? So even they now, because they've kind of switched that business now, we're going to get our money up front. So even they have what I would call appointment no sales, not necessarily lost customers. Right? Kind of hard to dig them up and sell them again.
So you have, I call them tchotchkes, all these different kinds. Can you do some show and tell and give some examples of how a small business owner might use these?
So the bank bag, if you're a coach or a consultant and you help people make money, or if you help people save money, this is a great one. I love it. We've gone over that one already. The boomerang, of course. I've got a couple more here. Let's see. What's a good one? Oh, here's a fun one. I kind of showed this one. So this is a little worry doll, and I don't know if you can see it. It's about an inch high and maybe a, 1/4 of an inch thick. So we use this for lost clients as well. I'm worried about you, right? I'm worried we haven't seen you in a while. I also used it for other things for, what kind of, we've used it for a CPA, for example. So we got a CPA, and there are certain things in life in which you would need or want a CPA. And so if you just got married, if you just had a child, if you just bought a new home, those are all kind of life events. And we can talk about more how we actually select lists if we have time. But there's all these things for a CPA that, when life happens, you probably need my service. So we've sent this in the past for a CPA. I'm worried about you. You just got married. There's all kinds of new things that are involved in doing your taxes and filing and that kind of stuff. So that one's fun. I love this one. This is kind of another money-saving one. This is a stretchy $100 bill, and I'll open it up. So bear with me here for a second. But if you can stretch a buck or stretch their savings, and it's just fun to play with, right?
I haven't got that one yet.
the whole idea is to get them to open it, look at it, play with it, right? Dan tells a story when he talks about our stuff. He did an event a couple of years ago. You may even remember it. He did it for a financial planners, CFPs, bigwigs, guys already doing pretty well. And he wanted to fill a boot camp to put them into another program, right? Just like Dan, right? And what he did was it was a construction theme. So he would send them hard hats, and he would send them, Tonka trucks. And what ended up happening is these things lay around. They go to the kids or the grandkids. About half of them, when they showed up, wore the hard hat that he had sent them months earlier when they showed up. These are guys making $1 million a year. These are guys already with successful businesses, guys and gals. they're already and they're by and large financial planners and insurance salesmen, right? Is there a more boring group of people than that? I hope there's no one listening that takes offense to that. But right, I mean, they're by the numbers people by and large, right? And they're coming to an event wearing hard hats and playing with Tonka trucks, right? So it's only your imagination and the way to tie it into the thing, right? So again, we've got these fake envelopes. We do a ton of these. So we do a lot of work with lawyers, right? And what's great about lawyers, especially if you're a bankruptcy attorney, there are lists available of people who could possibly need your services, right? So if you're being sued by Discover because you haven't paid your credit card bill, if you are having a foreclosure, all bad things, right? Nothing we want to happen. But if it's something that we can help them with, and imagine if heaven forbid you get sued by Discover or American Express and you owe a credit card $50,000, whatever it is, you're going to end up getting a lot of mail from attorneys. Just a matter of, it's just the way it is, right? That's publicly available data. They're going to take advantage of it. But if something like this shows up versus what everybody else is sending, and it's, Stacey, I'm sure you can imagine it. It's a number 10 envelope. It's got their logo in the upper left-hand corner. Smith and Johnson PLLC with their right. Now look at this. Which one are they going to open when they spread out 15 of them? Right. Now, let's be real here. A lot of them are going to throw them all away. But if we can just get 10 extra people every week to open this, if we can get 50 extra people to open this than we otherwise would, we're in a good spot. Last one I'll show you because I love it. It always gets people a laugh. But we send out silver platters. So this is a real. That one, yes. This is I don't want to say real silver. It's made in China. It's probably not real silver, but it looks like silver. Yeah. And if let's say we're going to do something and we're going to deliver it to them on a silver platter, right? Yeah. So another famous coach that we've worked with, Perry Marshall, for years he would send these out to existing coaching members to sell them into an upper level coaching group, right? And so I'm going to deliver you results on a silver platter. Yep. We've got like 35 of these things, right? And so it's just a matter of, what is my message? What problem do I solve? And now how do I convey that in a visual manner that is cost effective for me, right? So when this may cost you $7 to send out, but Perry's selling a $35,000 coaching program, right? Don't need to have very many $35,000 coaching people to make a $7 thing work out. On the other end, right? These stretchy bills, they might cost you $1 or $2 to send out the door, right? So it's all relative. What's affordable to me that gives me a good ROI that I can now use to get open, heard, or read, gain attention, and then it all comes back to ROI. If I spend $1 and I make $3, do I spend $1 and make $20? That's all we're really concerned about. And so that's some of the stuff we do. We've got, like I said, about 30. Oh, I forgot this one here. We do pill bottles, right? So if you cure a headache or solve a problem, right? So we're going to send out little pill bottles. There are some considerations to take into account. Let's say I'm a specialist doctor. I'm a podiatrist. Let's just pick something. And I want to get referrals from a general family doctor. I'm probably not going to send this, right? They're used to seeing these things used the proper way, right? So they're going to wonder who's not getting their pills, right? But let's say I'm now a lawyer. I'm a family law attorney, and I want to target CPAs or whatever to get referrals. Well, now that probably makes sense. We're going to cure your client's headaches. Again, what message do we want to convey? What problem are we solving? And then kind of how can we visually put it to use so that they kind of get it, right? That's the whole idea.
Okay. So the small business owner that now has seen these examples and case studies and is probably really excited, where do they start? You talk a little bit about the list because you have to have somebody to mail to. So some people may have a list, some people may not. Can you kind of address both sides of that?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first place I would always start is within your own herd, within your own group, right? like you said, the lost client is low hanging fruit. It's usually ignored. It's usually not a place people think about. But if you're thinking, I want to kind of dip my toe into this, start there. The other places, say your unconverted leads, right? So if you're doing any kind of lead generation marketing, or again, let's say you're a dentist and you're getting phone calls and they're not showing up for appointments. How can we use a different media to get them to come into our shop, into our store, into our practice, whatever it is? The other thing I love is and we kind of talked about it, right? These life events that happen in the world in which we can help them solve a problem. So an obvious one for many, like if you are in the home services business, so you're a painter, a plumber, HVAC, if you're in retail, especially furniture, housewares, you are leaving huge sums of money by not doing a monthly new mover list, right? So what is that? People buy houses. When they buy a house, that's a public data point. We were able to pull that information. And let's say you service a 20-mile radius around Cincinnati, Ohio, and you're a home painter. Well, it's something crazy. Like 67% of people put new paint on the walls within 6 months of moving into a home. Well, let's get a list of those 250. These are all just fake numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get a list of the 250 who move into a new home in Cincinnati with a value over $400,000, and let's mail them and tell them we can paint their house. If you have furniture, almost 100% of people buying any kind of home worth anything are buying new furniture. Window coverings, like I said, HVAC, dentists. Almost everybody changes a dentist if they move. We also have ways now, for these new movers to figure out how far they're moving. So if they're moving across the street and I'm a dentist, I may not want them. They're going to keep their current dentist. If they're moving from out of town, they have to have me. At some point, they have to have me. So let's proactively go get them. So new movers is one of them. All kinds of life events, anniversaries, birthdays, anything that new movers. We already said that. Anniversaries, we said new marriages, new child nearing graduation. Right. Your goal is to, out of all the people we could possibly mail, we want to narrow our universe as much as possible. Most people think, well, everybody's my customer. Well, no, that's not true. We want to narrow that universe. And now we want to find the person that is more apt to need what we offer and then send them a message that hits them square between the eyes. That's the goal, right? So if I'm going to be doing this in order, it's your lost or inactive patients or customers. It's your not unconverted leads, your suspects who have just kind of out there in the ether who have been on your list. And then I'm going to go and try and find a list of things, people, events that allow that are more apt to need what I need. Like I said, I told you about the CPA, new births, new marriages, new homes, are all trademarks in that industry for needing and wanting some more financial help. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to do.
All right. Well, you have a solution for every industry, even as we mentioned, the funeral homes. So there's I can't think of one business that couldn't take advantage of everything that 3D Mail Results has to offer. So how can people learn more about you and the solutions that you offer?
You bet. I offer a free book and catalog. It has the 7 or 8 items we talked about, plus all 33 stock items that we have. What's really cool is I include a swipe file. I don't know how many people are familiar with that term, but a swipe file is basically, we offer a digital swipe file. I've got a physical swipe file sitting here behind me, but it's your idea center. When I want to create something, never start from scratch. So you start with a swipe file. We give you a digital swipe file with over 50 different letters for pill bottles and bank bags and boomerangs, right? And so it's got a catalog, it's got the swipe file, so you're never starting with a blank page. That's the last thing you want to do with anything, is start with a blank page, right? Find what people are doing that's successful and mimic it and reuse it over and over and over again. A catalog, we give you some coupons when you want to buy from us. But if you go to 3dmailresults.com/book, so that's the number 3, the letter D, MAILRESULTS.com /book. It's completely free. There's no hidden costs. You don't even put a credit card in. I cover the postage. You just give us your mailing address and you'll get that. And then you'll also get some fun goodies from us. So if you want to see 3D mail in action, we practice what we preach. So we'll send you the catalog, but then we're also going to send you some goodies behind that, right? So if you want to see this stuff in action, if you want to see how you react when this stuff hits your mailbox, go request it. And I think you'll like it. I think you'll enjoy it. So 3dmailresults.com /book, completely free, no cost. Go ahead and go grab it.
All right, everybody, you heard it. Definitely take advantage. I use this in my business. I use it with all of my clients. And Travis is so generous. He's giving you this book absolutely free. He's going to pay the shipping. And there is no doubt in my mind that you will not be able to find one campaign that you can just swipe and deploy, as he says, and implement it and put it into action, pun intended. So Travis, any last words of advice for the small business owner who is now really excited to get their direct mail campaign going?
Yeah, last word, test and measure, right? Very few people hit a home run with any marketing the very first time they do it. So start small. Like I said, start with that in-house. Start with a little group of people you want to convert. Maybe you're a B2B person and there's a group of 10 CEOs you'd really love to meet. Start with them. Start with some, put yourself in the best place for success, but test it, measure it, see where you're at. The first time somebody did a Facebook ad, they probably fell flat on their face, right? Right. So stick with it. It's like anything, you're going to get better at it, but test it small, expand. And where it works, keep doing more. Where it doesn't work, you now got another data point. There's no failures, just data points, right? So give it a try. Try it in your herd, try it with your customer base right now and expand it from there. That would be my advice for you.
Definitely put it into action, pun intended, and no doubt you'll be Travis's next case study.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. This is Small Business Stacey, your small biz marketing specialist, here to help you get your marketing into action and help you become a small biz marketing whiz. Bye-bye.
This podcast was brought to you by Small Business Stacey, the small biz marketing specialist. Want to know the 6 simple steps that will double, even triple your business in the next 30 days? Go to smallbizmarketingspecialist.com /transform and finally achieve the successful and profitable business you always knew you'd have. That's smallbizmarketingspecialist.com /transform.